Every parent knows the endless loop of the wheels on the bus, the verses we sing, smile at, and quietly dread. Most of us never realize that this song's maddening circular rhythm did not originate in a cheerful schoolroom. It traces back to the grim routines of a 19th century prison. The melody we use to lull toddlers once kept prisoners in line, each step echoing the same words we now call harmless. Subscribe now to uncover the disturbing truths woven into the songs you thought you knew, because the real story behind this childhood anthem is far stranger than you were ever told. Ask any parent or grandparent, and chances are they can sing every verse of The Wheels on the Bus by heart. It is a song that seems to follow families everywhere, echoing from car speakers, filling classrooms, looping through YouTube playlists, and resurfacing in bedtime routines. In daycares from Boston to Brisbane, Stockholm to Sao Paulo, the pattern is always the same: children's voices chanting about wheels turning, wipers swishing, horns beeping, and babies crying. No matter the country or language, the melody is instantly recognizable, and the verses never seem to end. The song's structure is simple but relentless. Each verse repeats the same melody and rhythm, swapping in new actions round and round, swish, 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 wah, 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 with the chorus cycling back over and over all through the town. It is designed to be extended as long as there is imagination or patience left in the room. Some parents joke that the only way to finish is to run out of things on the bus. Online, the numbers are staggering. Children's channels rack up billions of views with animated buses rolling endlessly across bright digital towns, each video adding more verses and new characters. Preschool teachers rely on the song to keep groups organized, using its call and response format to prompt movement and participation. The verses become a soundtrack for snack time, circle time, or just passing the minutes on a rainy afternoon. But for adults, the experience can be something else entirely. The repetition that soothes toddlers often makes grown-ups feel stuck, like a record you cannot turn off. One mother wrote that it gets stuck in your head. Another parent described the 7th round of Round and Round as a test of their last nerve. The song's looping structure, meant to be inclusive and fun, often leaves caregivers feeling trapped in an endless cycle, counting down the verses while pretending to smile. Despite the irritation, the song is inescapable. It is woven into the fabric of early childhood, passed between generations, and almost impossible to avoid in the first years of parenting. The question hardly anyone asks is why this particular song, this tune, these words, this never-ending loop became such a fixture in children's lives. There is a reason the repetition feels so familiar, and it is not just because kids love routine. That reason is part of the story we are about to follow. In December 1937, a Boston writer named Verna Hills published a short poem called The Bus in American Childhood Magazine. The poem offered a simple snapshot of city life told through the eyes of a child riding public transportation. Hills described the wheels going round and round over the city streets, the horn sounding toot-to-toot at other buses, and the people bouncing up and down in their seats. Each stanza followed the same looping pattern, with actions and sounds repeating in a way that felt both playful and instructional. Hill's work appeared at a time when buses were still a modern marvel for many American children. The bright yellow school bus was just beginning to take its place in city neighborhoods, and public transport stood as a symbol of progress and community. Her verses captured that energy, offering a window into the daily routine of urban kids. There was no mention of a tune or melody in the printed poem, just the words set out plainly as if inviting parents and teachers to read or recite them aloud. The original lyrics reveal subtle differences from the version most people know today. Hills wrote the wheels of the bus, not on, and each final line pointed to a specific scene over the city streets, at the other buses it meets, bouncing off their seats. The poem stopped after 3 stanzas with no babies crying, no parents shushing, and no endless chorus of all through the town. American Childhood was a respected publication among teachers and librarians, known for curating wholesome educational content for young readers. Hill's poem fit perfectly into this mission. It was easy to memorize, easy to adapt for a classroom, and perfectly in step with the magazine vision of childhood as a time for gentle learning. There is no evidence. Hills saw herself as creating a new folk song or borrowing from older traditions. She simply offered an educational rhyme about a bus, using the rhythms and patterns that felt natural for children's verse. With the poem in print, the bus gained a foothold in American classrooms and homes. But the melody that would make it famous was still missing. The next step in the song's journey would come not from invention but from memory, a tune already familiar to generations waiting to be paired with new words. A familiar melody echoes across generations, but its path is anything but simple. The tune that carries the wheels on the bus is not original to Verna Hills or even to American childhood. Its DNA traces back to Victorian England, embedded in the well-worn notes of "Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush." This is not just a passing resemblance. The two songs are functionally identical in their musical structure, their looping meter, and their relentless repetition. Both songs open with nearly the same melodic phrase, set in a major key, often G or C, built to invite group singing. The pattern is unmistakable, a strong downbeat followed by a gentle, swinging rhythm in 6/8 time. Each line stretches across two groups of 3 beats, giving the music a rolling, circular feel. The melody itself walks down the scale and then climbs back up, always returning to its starting point as if caught in a cycle that never quite resolves. The lyrics reinforce this motion. Here we go round the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush, the mulberry bush marches through 3 identical lines, each one driving the circle forward. The 4th line, so early in the morning, serves as a chorus, a release before the next lap begins. In the wheels on the bus, the structure is nearly a mirror image. The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round, followed by all through the town. The chorus lands on the same cadence, the same musical punctuation before the next verse resets the loop. Musicologists point to the call and response format as another point of convergence. In both songs, the leader sings a line and the group echoes or acts it out. This structure encourages participation, whether in a classroom, a playground, or a prison yard. The melody's simplicity is not a limitation but a feature. It invites endless verses, each one swapping in a new action or sound while the underlying tune remains unchanged. Sheet music from British nursery collections matches the modern wheels on the bus, note for note. The earliest printings of Mulberry Bush in the mid-19th century already display the same looping contour, the same stress on repeated words, the same sense of musical enclosure. No matter which version is sung, the effect is the same, a closed circle where every verse brings the singers back to where they started. This kind of melodic borrowing was common in folk traditions. Songs moved from one context to another, picking up new words but keeping their bones intact. In this case, the melody crossed the Atlantic, shed its British accent, and was dressed up with bus horns and bouncing passengers. Yet the musical core remained untouched. The evidence is clear in every detail: the opening phrase, the chorus cadence, the call and response design, the looping meter. The wheels on the bus is not just inspired by Mulberry Bush. It is, in musical terms, its American twin. The tune that now signals the start of a school day or a family car ride once marked the rhythm of a different kind of routine, far from the world of yellow buses and cheerful sing-alongs. Wakefield Prison stands at the center of a story that refuses to die. According to a widely circulated account, the rhyme "Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush" began in the prison yard of this grim Victorian institution. The details come from R.S. Duncan, a former governor at Wakefield, who described women. Prisoners being made to march in circles around a mulberry tree each morning, singing to keep time with their steps. The image is vivid, dawn breaking over high stone walls, the air heavy with discipline, and a line of women moving in endless loops, their voices rising to fill the yard. Yet, for all its power, the story rests on uncertain ground. Duncan's version appears in his mid-20th century writings long after the supposed events. He offers no prison logs, no letters, no official reports to back his claim. He offers only local tradition and his own recollections. No 19th century records describe these circular marches or mention the mulberry tree as anything more than a piece of landscaping. The archives remain silent. Inspectors' reports from the era describe strict routines, early wake-ups, silent chapel, monotonous labor, and regimented exercise, but they do not mention songs or trees. Rules often forbade singing altogether, fearing it might lead to collusion or unrest among inmates. Still, the story persists in part because it fits so well with what is known about Victorian prison life. Wakefield, like many English prisons of the period, was built on the idea that order could be imposed through repetition. Inmates were woken before dawn and marched out for exercise in the cold, their movements tightly controlled. Women spent hours walking in circles or along fixed paths, watched by guards, forbidden to speak. The goal was not just physical health, but mental submission, breaking down individuality through routine. The idea of a chant to mark the rhythm of these walks feels plausible, even if unproven. Songs and rhymes have long been used to pace collective labor, from fields to factories to prison yards. In this context, a simple circular melody, one that repeats the same lines over and over, would have been both a comfort and a tool of control. The refrain, "So early in the morning," echoes the reality of days that began before sunrise, with no end but the next march around the yard. Duncan's account, though unverified, taps into the psychological heart of Victorian discipline. The endless walking, the strict schedules, the denial of speech and song all aim to enforce obedience through monotony. Whether or not the prisoners sang about the mulberry bush, their daily lives were shaped by cycles that seem, in retrospect, almost inescapable. The rhyme's structure, its loops, its insistence on returning to the start, mirrors the routines that governed every hour behind those walls. Even without proof, the Wakefield story lingers because it feels true to the era's spirit. It reminds us that the songs we inherit can carry traces of forgotten histories, sometimes written not in ink, but in the rituals of control and endurance. Songs do not travel alone. They are carried by people, by guards who finish their shift and hum a tune at home, by children who overhear a melody in the street, by editors who collect playground favorites for the next generation. In the decades after Wakefield's routines faded into memory, the melody and structure of "Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush" slipped quietly out of the prison yard. It moved from lips to playground, from local game to national rhyme, losing its original meaning but keeping its circular form. By the late 1800s, anthologies of nursery rhymes began to fossilize this version, stripping away any mention of discipline or stone walls. The song became a staple of British childhood, a circle game for early mornings, its origins unspoken, its repetition unchanged. When Verna Hills sat down in Boston in 1937 to write about city buses, she reached unconsciously for a pattern already familiar to her readers. The mulberry tree vanished, replaced by wheels and horns and bouncing passengers. The refrain "So early in the morning" was traded for all through the town, yet the bones of the song remained untouched. Hills's poem, published in American Childhood, followed the same looping structure, each verse inviting another, the melody ready-made for group singing. The transmission was seamless and visible. No footnotes, no acknowledgments, just a reskinning that felt natural and inevitable. Editors and teachers helped the process along. Anthologies printed Hill's verses alongside the old tune, cementing the match for American classrooms. Children learned the song by ear, passing it in circles, each new singer one step further from Wakefield's yard, but still moving round and round, all through the town. Repetition in the world of psychology can be a double-edged sword. For adults, endless cycles of the same melody and words can feel like a slow erosion of patience. This is often called learned helplessness. When a person is exposed to inescapable, monotonous tasks, Their sense of control slips away, replaced by numbness or frustration. Victorian prison architects may not have known the term, but they understood the effect. Circular marches, rigid routines, and chants were meant to break the will, not to comfort. Yet for children, the same structure produces the opposite effect. Developmental studies show that young children crave predictability. When every verse ends just as expected, anxiety drops and confidence grows. The looping chorus of "all through the town" becomes a promise. Nothing scary is lurking, everything will happen in order. Toddlers join in, anticipate the next line, and feel powerful in their participation. The very pattern that once enforced submission now offers a sense of mastery. This is the quiet irony embedded in the song's journey. What began as a tool of control, a mechanism to drain resistance, has become a ritual of comfort and joy. Children, without knowing any of the history, have reclaimed the structure for themselves. The circle that once symbolized confinement now marks belonging. In this way, the nursery rhyme is redeemed, not by erasing its dark past, but by transforming its meaning in the hands of those least burdened by its origins. It is a reminder that culture is never fixed, and even the most somber echoes can be softened by new voices. Every time a child sings this song, a Victorian prison's echo lingers, proof that the past hides in plain sight. Childhood rituals repeat across generations, and we rarely question their origins or effects. Inherited patterns shape our days, and knowing their true source matters more than ever. What else do we carry forward unexamined into our lives? Share your thoughts below.